Never mind.
So we are actually live. Welcome, Wendy Lee. Welcome to Money Moves. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Happy Tuesday.
Awesome. That's right. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. It's a beautiful day outside. We've had just some gorgeous weather here where I'm at in Nashville, Tennessee. So
nice in Chattanooga too. And I'm going to be in Destin on Wednesday.
I could think of a heck of a lot worse places to be. So Destin is pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. So did you have a great weekend?
I did. Had a retreat in Nashville.
Okay.
We jam-packed a whole bunch of stuff into a few short days, and it was a ton of fun. So
nice. Yeah, I got to spend some time outdoors. What's that?
Lots of training and lots of playing.
If you can combine work with fun, that's always a good thing, right? So
yeah. And you did something fun.
Yeah. I was over in the Smoky Mountains with a good buddy of mine. We were at an outdoor skills camp, so it was fun. It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I cut out a little early on Sunday and drove all the way through the Smoky Mountains, one of my favorite places on earth, just absolutely beautiful. So, and you couldn't have asked for better weather. I mean, it was like, not a cloud in the sky. You had like, it was like 65, 70, depending on what altitude you were at and stuff like that. So it was all good. And it just kind of reminded me of, being self-employed, which we're not going to talk about that today, but it's just to be able to come and go as you please and things like that. So it's good stuff. But yep. So today we are talking about some exciting stuff, and it's all about credit and credit score. And there's some gurus out there talking about, don't have credit, pay cash for everything. And we're going to talk about what that really does to your overall plans and how all of this impacts you on building wealth. I don't know, Wendy, have you heard of that before? Don't use credit.
Of course.
I'm just saying. So, and most of us have.
Right. And here's the deal, right. And we just say it. Ramsey's one of the big ones that preaches no credit. And that's like his vein, his lane where he stays. And he's helping a lot of people that we've talked about this before, that are salary job. They're never going to be entrepreneurial, right? They need to make their $50,000 a year work for them, right? Mm-hmm. And so, and I think he's extreme for the people that need the extreme. But those of us that are, can use.
And like I said, I'm a fan of Dave Ramsey. Yeah. I like about 80% of what he says is dead on. I count it more of a ambulance, right? It's there when there's an accident, and hey, this is what you need to do to kind of get things back in line and things like that. And it's good information, but doesn't really play out in the long term. So we're going to actually talk about that today. But before we actually jump into that, we're going to get into the credit piece and what does that really cost you? I know a lot of people are out there, their jobs are seasonal or whatever the case may be. COVID, obviously impacted a lot of people's incomes. And so all of a sudden credit scores are like, whoa, wait a minute. They're a little more challenged than maybe they were pre-COVID. And not only that, right now we've got higher credit usage in the United States than we did prior to 2008, that was one of the triggers in 2008. So people are using a lot of credit. And, so it's important that you know how that really plays into your overall credit score, how it plays, how do you get your credit score? What does it matter? Whatever, I'll pay them when I pay them, that kind of attitude. And what that does is really kind of slams you a lot. So, why do you think having credit is so important, Wendy? What are a couple things that kind of jump out for you?
I mean, I know for my family specifically, right? We want to buy properties, homes, and turn it into a business. Yeah. And unless you're paying cash, which to have enough cash to buy homes, I mean, that's a lot, right? It's doable, but that's a lot. I don't know if it's the smartest use of money, the interest rates, but to be able to buy homes that we can turn into income for us. Credit makes it a lot easier.
It does. Well, that's the big thing, right? It's easier approval. I mean, we're in a society now that you don't know your local banker anymore. And there may be a time where you need to borrow money. So the only thing they have to use is your credit score to determine, okay, Wendy Lee, with your 850 credit score, you're awesome. We're gonna lend money to you, no problem. I had a guy one time about a year and a half ago when I bought my truck. I looked at paying cash and I looked at financing and I looked at the interest rate they were offering me. I'm like, that's kind of a no-brainer. And they pulled the credit score and he's like, oh man, you buy pretty much whatever you want. You see something on the lot, tell me what you want, and we'll wrap it up for you. And that's that easier approval. It gives you a lot more ability rather than, okay, well, because of a certain credit score, you're only allowed to buy this car, this house, or, whatever getting qualified for. So, it gives you better loan terms. Okay. Which in turn means what? You're going to pay less. Okay. You're going to pay less for something. And, that's really the big thing that ties into building wealth and things like that. If you've got a crappy credit score, and I'm not judging you if you do, believe me, I've been there. We all have. It's just, you need to realize the big damage. Yeah, exactly. You got to realize the damage that it's actually doing to you. And not only, from, okay, I can't borrow stuff, but you're paying more for other stuff. Okay. And I'll talk about that a little bit too, when we talk about.
Really quickly, when you say bad credit, like my husband had horrific credit, and it wasn't because he did bad things. It was because he literally never used credit. He never opened a credit card. I think he had one credit card and one student loan, and he was a bachelor, and he was, love you, babe, but he was dumb. And he literally never opened the credit card bill and didn't pay it. And then we were getting together. I'm like, dude, you got to pay the bill. Right? It was like,
pay it when I pay it, right?
dollars or something. But, and then student loans that he let go into default when he was in his 20s, and then never did anything with credit after that. Paid cash for his cars, rented. And then, the house we owned was in my name. So he never built credit. So which we can talk about. I know we're going to get to this, but he did just a couple small things, and now his credit score is better than mine in 8 months.
Well, and there's a lot of great tools out there, which we're going to go into that too, on how you can actually, fix that. But, that's the big thing of it, because of the fact that credit scores, I mean, that's why title loan places exist, right? Back in the day, it was all pawn shops, right? Hey, I can't borrow money from anybody, so I'm going to go and pawn something and then hopefully get it out of pawn. That evolved into finance companies, which evolved into these title loan places and things like that. And if you look at not only the interest rate that they charge, but a lot of the fees that associated with it, you can end up, like RTO, rent to own, places like that. I mean, they have a certain clientele because people have no other options. But what happens is you go in with your 800 credit score, right? And I walk into an RTO to buy a flat screen TV, and you look at it, you just walk into Best Buy or whatever. We could get the same exact television. I'm going to end up paying 3 to 4 times more for that same television. Okay. And that's the big whammy, is the fact that, okay, that's money that I could be putting towards my building wealth, building towards my emergency fund, whatever the case may be, putting my family in a better situation. But because I didn't manage my credit, and guys and gals, it's so much easier to do than you think. All of a sudden, I'm in a bad situation. I mean, so many people don't even know what their credit score is, much less know how to, manage it and how it impacts them every day. I mean, you see what I'm talking about here? Hopefully you in the audience see this too.
Yeah. Yep.
But
worse interest rates. I mean, like my car that I bought years ago when my credit was super bad, my interest rate was 11%. So insane, right? Yeah. So I wound up paying for a little Kia, way more money than I should have. Right. Yeah. When I got my Lexus, my interest rate was way lower. I probably paid just as much for the Kia as I did for the Lexus.
Well, that's the thing. And so the people that are impacted by that, are the people that have the more challenged income and things like that, because again, folks, the whole point of this Money Moves video stream is all about teaching you how to make more money, how to, save more of your money, how to grow more of your money, and how to keep your money, keep your money from market losses, taxes, from excess credit, that if you just would tweak some things. That's what all this is. I mean, it's all about bringing that Wall Street to Main Street and saying, you can do this stuff, folks, but you've got to be aware, and you got to learn how the money game is played. It's, I've used this analogy once, I use it 100 times. It's like you playing the game of life, the board game life, and you don't know the rules, and you're playing against somebody who does. You're never going to win, right? You're never going to win. And that's why it's so important that you know this stuff. So, how is a credit score? How does somebody come up with what's called a FICO? Depending on there's 3 credit branches out there, 3 credit bureaus, excuse me. It's like Experian, TransUnion, and I forget the other.
Equifax.
Yeah, Equifax. Yep, that's right, Equifax. So there's 3 of them out there, and usually what happens, you go to buy a car or something like that, they'll have one that they like better because they're cheap. They don't want to pull all 3, or if they do pull all 3, they'll go with the middle score. They'll take out the high one, take out the low one, and you're left with the middle one. But what comes up with your score? So I actually went out and researched this a little bit. So everybody thinks, oh, it's your payment history. That's part of it, but that's only about a third of it. Okay, so payment history, how you pay your payments, right? On time, right? Pay them before the actual due date, like 2 or 3 days before. That way, you're not missing a beat. Plus, it's going to save you money because if you pay it a day late, what usually happens?
You have late fees.
Late fee, and that could be more than the actual payment. I mean, late fees can be $30, $35, $40 just for being late. That's money out of your pocket going to a bank. Number 2 is credit utilization. And this is, well, I'm not maxing my card out, so I'm okay. This is 30% of your score. Okay. Yep. Credit utilization. You want to keep your credit usage 30% below, or 30% or below of what that's kind of that trigger point of what you credit available you have. So if you have a $5,000 credit card, for example, right, you don't want to go above 30% of that and still keep a good score. Okay, and people are, oh man, I thought it was max out. No, this is how you play the money game in credit, right? If you need more credit than that, go out and get a second card. Just don't run up the balances. And again, we'll talk about that. The third thing is a length of history. Now, this is something you can't really control unless it's starting when you're young. I've got a 21-year-old in college, and he and I actually had a conversation over the weekend. I said, look, you're about to graduate college and go out and get a job. I need you to go out and get a credit card. Okay. And I did some research with them, and I said, okay, this is the one you need to get. And I want you to apply for a $500 balance, something that's quick, easy to pay off, teach him how to use credit. But if he goes off the rails, it's not a big deal, right? It's not going to be something he's like, oh my gosh. But I remember, I don't know if you experienced this back when I was 18, 19, I was getting all kinds of credit offers when I was in college. And, it was, I think Discover was the big one at the time, talking about, hey, we're going to give you $2,000. And, the payment will be $20 a month. I'm like, man, I can afford $20 a month. What happens?
Paying for it for 20 years.
Forever, right?
I'm just kidding.
Forever. And they got you. They got you, right? And that's one of the things. I didn't know anything about interest rates at the time. Like, heck yeah, man, I can do $20. Called my buddies. I'm like, hey, I'm buying. Let's go, woo. Yeah. And the next thing you know, you're paying $20 for the rest of your life. And it just goes up and up from there. They've got you. They got their claws in you, right? So that length of history, that's 15% of the score. That's important. You want to establish it when you're young. And again, credit is a tool. It's just like a shovel or something out in your garage. It's just a tool for you to use. Robert Kiyosaki, that's really somebody who kind of opened my mind to thinking other ways than just having no debt. He talks about something called OPM, right? Not the song OPP, but OPM.
People's money.
Other people's money, right? And you look at it and leverage it, and you leverage it in the right way. And if you have a good credit score, you pay very, very little for it. I mean, for good credit right now on a home mortgage, it's like 2.5% on a 30-year fixed rate. I mean, that's insane. That's insanely low. But if you've got challenged credit, you're going to be paying 6-7% or whatever the case may be if you can even get into a house. What's that going to do? That means instead of the really nice house that you want for your family of 5, you got to get this tight little house that's going to be, you're going to be falling all over each other. But hey, it's the only thing we can get because of our payment amount is right in line with what you need to be paying. So credit mix, that's about 10%. And then lastly is recent inquiries. And that's one of the things, guys, whenever you go to, and you see it especially around the holidays, you go shopping, or you go to a sporting event or something like that, or I've seen them in grocery stores, hey, apply for this credit card and we'll give you a free 2-liter bottle of soda. I'm like, no, but people do it. Or I'm going to give you $50, or there's a sign-on bonus, or you get a gift card, or whatever the case may be. And think about that. There's a reason they're giving you $25, $50 gift card to sign that piece of paper, because they know they're going to make way more money off of you than that, just because of based on, I don't know. Have you ever seen that before when you walk into a store?
Well, like I love TJ Maxx and Marshalls, but it drives me nuts because you cannot check out. Before they even ask me now, I'm like, I'm not interested in the credit card. I'm paying with my debit card. Yeah. And they still say, are you sure you don't want to save?
Seriously. I mean, seriously, I was in Academy Sports the other day buying some stuff and walked out. And they said, well, you can save $15 on this today if you just apply for our credit card. I'm like, no, thank you. And the guy behind me in line, I looked at him, he's like, you're not going to do that? I'm like, no way, man. He's like, oh, okay. And so, I mean, but it's prevalent on everybody's on their mind, right? So those are the different factors that come into what a credit score is. So what exactly is a good credit score? Well, credit scores go from 300, which is not a good credit score, right, up to 850. That's the cap. So 300 to 850. So if you're in that 300 to 579, that's the poor range. That's bad credit, right? You're not really going to be able to buy anything. You're going to end up going to the title loan place or something like that. You better bring some collateral in before you do anything or ask anybody for any money. You start getting a little better on 580 to 669. That's fair. And really you start getting that sweet spot into 670 to 739, 670 above, 670 to 739. That's good credit. 740 to 799 is very good. 8 to 850, that's excellent. I mean, and pretty much once you get above 680, you're in what most people consider, okay, you're going to be able to, borrow for most things if you want to. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying go out and get a bunch of credit cards. I'm not saying go out there and, that's not what I'm saying here. So be sure to pick up on that. But, you look at those good credit scores and they go up and down, and literally they go up and down every month.
Yeah.
Depending on if you buy
mine, and it depending on if I use the credit card that month, it changes.
Okay, so what kind of credit? So is it the company that provides you with an alert or something like that?
So my bank does.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So you've got a bank credit card through your bank, and they send you an alert if you're borrowing something, or
Oh, no. Oh, sorry. My bank provides my credit score every month.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
So I have a couple small credit cards, like literally, I don't let my balance go. Like I don't let them, because I made mistakes in the past. So at most I can use $1,000, right?
Yeah.
But I just have a couple things I put on a credit card and then pay it off every month just to help my credit. But it's funny because depending on when it's paid, like my score will jump 30 points and come back down 30 points based on my credit card usage. Yeah.
Exactly. And it goes back to those different factors we just talked about, what percentage you're using, and things like that. And that lack of use can cause issues too, which we're going to talk about that before we close. And that's what's going on with the credit scores. And literally you want to stay in touch with your credit score on what's going on. I mean, that's great that they provide you a monthly score. There are a couple great tools. The question then becomes, okay, John, I've got a crappy score. How can I fix it? Or how can I stay in the loop on what's going on my credit score? Because most people have no clue, right? Mm-hmm. So there's some, I'm a big DIY guy, right? Do it yourself. And so there's a lot of things that you can do to actually stay in touch. Number one, if your bank sends you the credit score, that's great. But a couple of services I like, and they're free, which is my favorite price because I'm a cheap SOB. Number one is, CreditWise. I love that one. It's provided by Capital One. It's an app on your phone, and they'll literally update your credit score, and it doesn't count against your credit score, but they'll update your credit score every 7 days. Every week, they'll send you what your score is. It's right there on a friendly app. And then they'll also give you scenarios on if you, want to increase your score, what could I do? And so you look at your balance, it'll tell you your total credit usage. It'll tell you, how long your oldest account is, everything on there that we just talked about. And then you can run a scenario. Okay, well, what if I paid off $3,000 of my credit card debt? What would that do? Your score goes through the roof. Or if you're thinking about buying something, or what if I used, $2,000 more of my credit? What would that do to my credit score? And it's going to lower it, obviously. So CreditWise is a good one. I haven't used the Credit Karma, but I know a lot of people that, also talk about Credit Karma. They were doing a lot of commercials for a while. I don't know if somebody viewing can chime in on if that's free or not, or whatever the case
is. I have that.
Okay. So that's
CreditWise actually with my bank.
CreditWise is with your bank?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's Capital One.
Yep. And then I have Karma. And I'm looking at them right now, and my CreditWise is the same as what it says on Credit Karma.
Good. So they're pretty similar. So that's a fantastic tool that you can use to again know the rules of money, know how it works, know how to play the game, and you'd be surprised once you get in and start realizing, oh, this is a lot easier than I thought. And there's people talk about, okay, well, I've got medical bills and charge off and collections and things like that. You can take care of those yourself. I mean, most of those places will negotiate. Some people, and they'll say, well, I'm going to let those fall off, my credit score, and then it'll eventually get better. Well, what happens when you've got bad debt? That bad debt is sold to another company. So the first collection company that got it or whatever, they'll have it for a while. If they can't collect on you, you're dodging them or whatever, and it just gets old and aged, they'll actually sell it to another provider for 30 cents on the dollar or whatever, another collector. What happens is they'll report that to the credit bureau. That 7-year period or 10-year period or whatever it is starts over again. So it may be the collections from, ABC hospital, but it just, again, continues to accrue and accrue. And that can impact you when you go to buy a house or whatever the case may be. So what I would recommend is, figure out a way to pay them off, call them and say, would you settle for X amount? Mm-hmm. Now that may have an impact on your credit, and, talk to a credit counselor. And there are also credit counselors out there, which I'll talk about in just a second, but you can negotiate with them. But if you do negotiate with them, understand that they're going to want all their money like right then. You're going to have to pay them, all of it right then. Maybe they'll spread it out over a couple months, but they want that money quick. So save it up first, then call, say, look, this is what I got, and then go from there. So that way you can kind of get those handled. But you need to get those handled. They will follow you around unless they just fall off and they don't pursue it anymore. But that's kind of a roll of the dice. So have you ever heard of anybody doing that? Or
I mean, I've done all the wrong things. So I'm trying to think of what bill it was, but I had something that was passed on. Oh, I know what it was. It was actually something that I believed I didn't know. Mm-hmm. And so I kept kind of ignoring it. And, I was like, I don't care about credit because I'm going to pay cash for everything in my life. I was in that phase of my life.
Yeah.
And anyway, and yeah, exactly what you said. They then just sold it to somebody and then it started all over. And they get meaner and meaner.
They do.
There is something that it was an alarm system that we had in our house that I was in a rental, and I made sure with the sales guy, like when we move, that I'm not stuck in this contract.
Yeah.
He assured me, but apparently I didn't read fine print somewhere and he was wrong. And so they were like, you owe this money. They sent it to a collections because I wasn't paying it. And the collections people were so horrible and nasty to me. I was like, here's the freaking check. Just pay it off and leave me alone.
Yeah. They can get pretty nasty. That's for sure. So, you've got a couple. And so the other side of that, as far as fixing your credit, there are a lot of companies out there doing, credit counseling or, stuff like that. You see a lot of people posting on social media, hey, I can help you fix your credit. And there are a lot of good people that can do that. There are also a lot of people that are just trying to sell you something. So read the fine print and stuff like that, and know who you're working, check their references, talk to people that that have used them and find out more about them. But like I said, I know some people that do that for a living, and they're salt of the earth people. They're really trying to help people get their stuff back on track. Obviously, like anything, if you have a coach, a money coach, credit coach, or whatever, you have somebody in the wings kind of helping you, it's going to get done faster. And they're going to know probably some shortcuts that you don't know. But keep in mind, you're going to have to pay for that. It's not DIY is free. It's you're doing it, right? If you're bringing in somebody, don't expect them to do it for free. Okay. And they're trying to earn a living and stuff like that. They're willing to help you. But I'm going to tell you, it'll probably get done, a little bit faster and you won't have any potholes. But check the references and check what you're signing before you actually sign it and know the cost going in. So that's a great tool. So let's jump over to the other side now. So we talk about, the big guy, and, there's a couple of other people out there that say, hey, pay cash for everything. You don't need credit. And I think that is the biggest setup for failure in retirement ever. Okay. I just do. I mean, you look at that, and I just, first of all, that car, when you retire, let's say you retire at 60, 65, right? That car you have, is it going to last 30 years? Probably not, right? You're going to want to do stuff. You're still going to want to, you're still going to need additions on your house. Your house is going to need work. I mean, I replaced the AC unit on my house. We had to replace the whole thing. It was $6,000, $6,000. Now, if you got $6,000 sitting in the bank, whatever, or, you pull your money, but it goes back to money is so cheap right now. Okay. This is the other thing I have a hard time with in today's environment, paying off your house early. Yeah. Now, I always tell my clients, and I do financial planning for those of you that don't know this, I always tell my client at the end of the day, it's the pillow test. If you feel better and sleep better having it paid off, that's what you should do. But from a math perspective, monetary perspective, it makes absolutely no sense. Because if I can take the extra $200 or $300, right, extra $200 or $300 and go out to invest it or whatever, and I can get just a 6% return, right? I'm coming out ahead because my mortgage is only at 3%. Yeah. And here's the thing, that asset, my house that I'm investing in, it's not going to be worth more because I don't have a mortgage on it. It's going to be worth the same amount as it would if I had a mortgage on it. It's all about my neighbors and if they're taking care of their house, right? And so, paying cash for everything. Now, what you don't want to do is obviously use credit cards to live on. You don't want to do that. Okay. You don't want to use credit cards. Like I said, it's like a tool in the shed. If I need to dig a hole, I'm going to go grab a shovel. I'm not going to try to do it with my hands. If I want to, if I want to build up credit and maintain my credit and things like that, you look at, okay, I want to have that in place and be able to use it and have a good score. Not that I'm going to use it every day, but I want to have it available in case I need it for whatever. Or what I like to do, I've got one of those airline cards. I use that and then turn around and pay it off. Right? Why do I do that? I want free flights.
And you can earn miles. Yeah.
I want free flights, man.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And my dad, so he buys homes and turns them into rentals. So he buys with cash and then he gets a mortgage on it. And people would say, well, why do you need to put a mortgage on it if you paid for it with cash? Well, because I want to free up that money that now this is making me money at a way higher rate as a rental, right? That it is taking my money because he has like super low. He has great credit, like in the 800s. And so he gets these mortgages with a super low interest rate right now. Yep. The property's making him money. And then he can take that cash and turn around and do it again.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't make sense for him to have all these paid for houses. And with the way the market is, or, he has a couple in your town.
Yep.
Like he paid, his mortgages are like nothing on them. They're like 100,000 and those houses are now worth, because he's had them a few years, $300,000-$400,000. And so anyway, I just think, if he didn't have good credit, he couldn't build the residual income he's building off of these rental properties.
Well, that's again, he's using the tools. He knows how money works. He knows the rule of the game, and he's using it in his favor.
Right.
Okay. And that's the thing. That's what you want to do, right? It's all about being able to leverage that for you and your goals. And that's where the good credit comes in like that. So, kind of wrapping up, paying off all your bills, the credit impacts you a lot more than just, hey, I need to go buy a new car, things like that. I mean, because they look at your credit usage. Yeah, you may have had good credit, but if you haven't had any credit usage, guess what's going to happen? They're probably going to close those accounts, which means your credit utilization is going to go down, because what you do have left that you are using, they're going to get rid of it. They're also going to look at it as, okay, well, yeah, you paid your bills great 15 years ago. What about now? What's going on? Right. And it is what it is, because we live in a credit usage society. Yeah. Not only that, there are other things that tie into, you needing good credit score, your insurance for your home and auto. You look at that stuff, they base it on your credit score. And if you don't have any credit, that's assumed to be bad credit. Right. And so that's one of the things, again, look to use that stuff. Don't carry debt, but use debt. Okay. Don't carry debt, but use debt. And what do I mean by that? Go out, use a credit card, carry it on a balance for a month, pay it off the next month. Let it go through a cycle. Yes, you're going to pay a little bit of interest. Okay. You're going to pay a little bit of interest, but it's for a month and it's pennies on the dollar, right? Pennies. But what it's doing, and you don't have to do it every month either. Just use it, put it away for 3 or 4 months. Oh, let me go put a tank of gas in there, right? Use it, pay it off the next, when you get the bill and it shows the balance on there, pay it off. Okay. Because what's going to happen is, okay, that credit card is going to stay active. It's going to stay fresh. And if you go a period without having any balance on there, all of a sudden they stop reporting to the credit bureau. And that's what happens is you'll see the proper number each month. If you ever actually looked at your credit report, you'll see 30, and they have 60 or 90 or 100, if it went late or whatever. But if all of a sudden they just stop reporting because you haven't carried a balance on it forever, it's just X's. Did not report because it costs money for all these companies to do this stuff. And that negatively impacts your credit score, which can negatively impact your retirement. All of a sudden you're paying for more stuff. Does that make sense?
Yep. So what are the things that I can do today to increase my credit score?
So number one, download one of those apps. Okay. Don't try to figure it out on your own, and go back, watch this video, write down, if you want, what impacts your scores. Take an assessment on, what debts you do have, and reach out to either a financial planner like me. If you want input from me, reach out to me on here. Right. Or if you want to have, talk to a credit counselor or whatever like that, sit down and talk to them. Don't sign anything until you've read everything. But start with the DIY stuff. Download that app, get a list of what's going on, understand where your starting point is and where you're trying to go to. Okay. and then just start chipping away at it. Start with, if you're going to pay off the bill, start with the smallest balance first. Okay, pay minimums on everything else. All the extra that you're trying to pay on I'm paying an extra 50 here, extra 25 here. Take all of that extra and put it into one snowball and pay it on the lowest balance in addition to that minimum payment. And then keep stacking that up. And you can look at that. We've done it. I think we've done a video on a snowball too. If not, reach out to me, ask a question on our chat, and I'll respond back. And then just start doing that, and then start looking at credit usage and things like that, and start going from there. Mm-hmm. That's really the starting point. But those apps that we were talking about, Credit Karma, Credit Wise, things like that, that's going to be a fantastic starting point, because at least now you know what to do, and it'll give you some basic advice. But the next step is, if you really want to get ahead financially, get with a financial counselor, right? Get with a financial planner, somebody who's actually going to start reading some books, and really understand how this is all played. Folks, I've said it once on this show, and I'll say it 100 times more. Money is out there, and it's readily available for you. You've just got to understand how the game is played. We've talked about taxes. We've talked about earning extra income and things like that. And we're talking about credit, because I think it's one of those things that's really overlooked, but it has such a huge impact on you financially, beyond just, okay, I've got to pay a little extra. I mean, beyond that. But even the advice you hear from a lot of the radio gurus out there, like, oh, live debt free, just pay cash for everything. You don't need it. Yeah, you do. Don't use it to carry your life, but you need to use it as a tool. So anything else to add on that as we wrap up?
No, I think that's awesome.
Yep. Well, good stuff, guys. If you do have any questions, do me a favor, post it. We're on YouTube. You can go to www.blackswanmoney.com and catch all the back episodes. I think we've got 10, 15 that we've done so far, maybe even more than that. And we'd love to get some information from you as far as, hey, I would love you to talk about this topic. I've posted out on social media a little bit, on Facebook and stuff, looking for ideas on what you want to hear about. Mm-hmm. We want to help you out. That's the whole point of this show. So ask us a question or two, right? Yeah. Give us a topic you'd love for us to talk about, and make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and hit that little bell too on YouTube. That way, when new videos come out. We do them every Tuesday at 10 o'clock Central Time, 11 o'clock Eastern, and look forward to seeing you next week. Talk to you later, Wendy.
Bye.